One thing I want to mention really quickly is that I think there's a misunderstanding about how this wholesale thing works. And it's actually not just in wholesaling that this happens. It happens across the board, especially with the dawn of Facebook and everyone just ranting and raving about how successful they got overnight. That's like not realistic. That's not how that works. That's not how this whole thing goes. I think it's really important to understand that when you're joining kind of the wholesale community and you want to get involved and you want to obviously find a way to make your own deals and, you know, pull yourself through the ranks within the industry, it's important to understand that even though you may watch other people's videos saying, hey, like, I got my first deal in a week, like, that's not a typical result. Like, the average person is probably going to have to make 60 to 80 hours worth of calls before they find the one deal that's worth it. And I'm not saying this applies for everybody. This is typically for people that are just getting started or are somewhere in the middle where they haven't gotten their first deal just yet, but they're trying to figure out, okay, like, what is it going to take? It's not going to happen in a week. You're not going to be able to spend 1 hour every day after work and make 6 phone calls and be like, oh, it's not working. That's not how this works. It's a long-term effort. You're not going to put in a little bit of effort today and expect to see results tomorrow. Sometimes, I mean, across the board, in pretty much every industry, there are a few handfuls of examples where that does happen, where people can come into an industry and see luck and success, like the first bat. You know, first time they've tried it, you know, it worked well, it was successful. That's not typical. That's like, it's the same thing as, like, I almost kind of have a rule in marketing when people say, like, what is it going to take for me to get sales? I said, well, on average, out of every 100 people that come to your online store, to your website, out of maybe every 100, if everything is perfect, 1 to 2 people will buy. Just 1 to 2 people. So if you think about it kind of in the same way for wholesaling, if you have to make 100 calls. Now, again, I'm going to teach you ways of kind of like sifting through it so you don't have to make 100 calls to find good quality calls. But in the beginning, you know, you're going to have to make a lot of calls. Like, you're going to have to be consistent every single day in order to get the results that you're looking for. I just see it so often that people come to the table expecting that, oh, you know, I saw this guy talking about how he got his first wholesale deal in 24 hours, or how that's not realistic, especially if you don't have the money to invest in it. No. And honestly, if you come into this industry believing that, you know, within a matter of days, hours, especially if you're in a dire situation, like you're running out of money or, you know, you're about to lose your house, this is not the thing that you want to just jump into hoping that, you know, something's going to happen in the next 40 days that you can just, you know, turn their whole life around. This is not that. This is a marathon. This is a long-term effort. You're going to start today and it's going to get you a little bit closer until you get the deal. Now, again, depending on what your strategy is, how hard you work, what you're doing, how you're figuring all this stuff out, that's really going to determine how quickly this happens for you. It doesn't have to take 60 hours, but on average, it will take about 60 hours. You're not going to find your first deal overnight. And why? It's because even if you do find a really good house, you know, ARV is on point, you know, the comps look really, really spectacular, there's probably something else about the process that you're going to mess up. And that's what I feel like frustrates me kind of about the leaders in this industry. So a lot of people just talk very broadly about, oh, just go find a deal, or just go get a list, you know, just go get some leads, just make some calls. And it's like, it's bigger than just making calls, because, you know, it seems so, you know, they make it seem so trivial when it's just like, oh, just do this. And it's not just to do this. There's so many things that go into it. So, you know, when you're first getting started, just understand it's going to take you a while to get your deals. And the way that it's going to come together for you is like really calculate how much time you're putting in towards getting those 60 hours. You know, if you work a full-time job and you can only afford to do it in the mornings and at night, then you know you don't have 8 hours a day. So it might take you a couple weeks or a couple months, depending on how, you know, quality the rest of your process is. And that's, a lot of these things are really subjective, have a lot of different factors that, play into the success of your wholesaling business. Don't buy into the hype. It's going to take you a while. And if it doesn't take you a while, good for you. No, just kidding. But if it doesn't take you a while, then, you're one of the lucky ones. Like, you're one of the lucky few. But for every person that says, I got it in a week, there are 700 people that didn't get it in that first week. And there are going to be 700 more the next week that also didn't get it. So don't give up. Just understand this is not a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing. You're going to have to keep working at this. That's all.